Alrighty guys, welcome back. So today for the extra video for the week, we're going to be doing this one with the 9mm 125 grain round nose. And more specifically, we chose 3 different powders here, and we're going to see what ambient temperature does to these powders. So I did some research and I found out that Titegroup and Bullseye are apparently very prone to being temperature dependent on your ambient temperature outside, the temperature of your ammo, and all sorts of other things like that. Can very change the velocities on these two powders specifically. So then also on the flip side of that, the Vihtavuori N320 is notorious for not having that issue. And that's kind of a pro to having, or a pro to using the Vihtavuori N320. So what we're gonna do today is we're going to try this out. What we did is we loaded up the same powder charge for 15 rounds. So we're gonna take 5 and we're gonna just shoot them normal temperature outside, and then we're gonna put 5 of them in a bag of ice. And then we're gonna leave 5 out on the bench for about an hour or so to let them get nice and warm. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna see from the extreme one end and then to the extreme on the other end and see how those do, see what they change for velocities. And the reason why we kind of want to do this is I was at a shoot the other week and we were talking to some guys that were reloading for their shoot, and then they said that for their minimum power factor, they actually like to be right around like 130 instead of 125 as being their minimum, because of these reasons of ambient temperature having a play in your velocities. So to make sure you're just playing above the game instead of at the bare minimum because of those reasons. So I thought that was kind of interesting, so I wanted to try that and see if we can actually see what a big difference is, and if there is a big difference in the velocities when you have something in the middle and then one on the extreme end and then one on the extreme other. So we got all these loaded up and we're gonna try them out. So we'll meet you guys on the range and we'll talk about it there. Alrighty guys, so now we're out on the range. So what we're gonna do though is I have 5 of each load in the ice, and then I also have 5 of them sitting here in the tray, and then I also have 5 of them in my truck running on the dash with the heat on. So those ones we're gonna get nice and hot. These ones we're obviously gonna get nice and cold, and these ones are gonna be in the middle. So these are gonna be for ambient temperature outside, which is, I think today is about 76 degrees outside right now. So we're gonna shoot these for a baseline, and then we're gonna go to the cold, and then we're gonna go to the hot. So with this, we're shooting these out of this 5-inch Springfield Armory Prodigy 1911 DS. So I also do got this kind of neat little laser gun here. This will measure the temperature. For example, the ammo here is 60 degrees and that bag of ice is 30 degrees. So cold, middle, hot. Once I get all these shot up here, we're gonna take all that data just like our normal load data videos. We're gonna go inside, I'm gonna break it down. I think it's always kind of easiest to look at the data when it's in some sort of a chart. So I'm gonna do that for you guys, and so I'll meet you guys inside once I'm done shooting here. Alrighty guys, so now we're back into Willys. I'm very, very surprised honestly by the results that we got here. I was expecting to see very, very big differences in the velocities, but we didn't really. So this is the chart that I made for you guys. Obviously we did this on the 9mm 125 grain round nose bullet. This is one of our coated green bullets, but let's get into the powders now. So for the Vihtavuori N320, the Alliant Bullseye, and the Hodgdon Titegroup, those were our 3 powders that we selected. And the reason why I selected those is because those are the ones that I read on the internet, and they're like, yes, the Bullseye and the Titegroup are very temperature dependent, and the Vihtavuori is not, which this is not necessarily exactly what we saw in this. So the green line, obviously that's our normal temperature. That was at 76 degrees when I used our laser thermometer and we measured the temperature of the ammo itself, 76 degrees. And I had our Vihtavuori for our baseline then was at 1,041 feet per second. Our Bullseye was at 1,107 feet per second, and then our Titegroup was not the slowest, I guess the Vihtavuori was the slowest, but the second slowest at 1,042 feet per second. So now for our extreme. So our extreme cold, the Vihtavuori was 25 feet per second slower than its baseline. The Bullseye was actually 2 feet per second on average faster than its baseline, and our Titegroup, which was the biggest difference out of them all, was 32 feet per second slower than its average. So Bullseye's doing good. The Vihtavuori actually is the second worst, and then the Titegroup is the worst. Now let's go to the extreme hots. So this ammo temperatured at 87 degrees compared to the 50 degrees at the extreme cold, and we were 9 feet per second slower with the Vihtavuori powder than its average when the temperature was, 10 degrees hotter. Now with the Bullseye, we're at 20 feet per second more on average than our normal temperature. So now the gap's getting a little bit bigger. So maybe Vihtavuori is not very, when it's hot, it doesn't affect it much. Rather, when it's cold, it affects it more. Where the Bullseye, on the flip side of that, when it's hot, it doesn't really affect it, but when it's cold, it does. And for the Titegroup, it's again up there a little bit higher, negative 15 feet per second difference on the two. So we had, for velocities on those, the Vihtavuori N320 was at 1,032 feet per second for the extreme hot. The Bullseye was at 1128 feet per second, and then the Titegroup was at 1027 feet per second. Like I said, the Titegroup had a negative 15 feet per second difference than it's normal. So like I said, I was expecting to see way bigger differences. There's kind of no consistency either here. Looks like, I with the Titegroup, I would have figured I would have seen it get faster when it was hotter rather than slower. So that one kind of surprised me. The Bullseye and the Vihtavuori seem to be complete opposites, where obviously the Vihtavuori is affected more in colder temperature, where the Bullseye is not, and then the Bullseye is more affected in hotter temperatures, and the Vihtavuori is not. So it's kind of something a little different for you guys, something a little neat. Like always, really appreciate you guys watching these videos. Take this information, do what you want with it. We just like to make this stuff for you guys. Continuing with our load data videos. So there'll be a new load data video out this Friday. It's going to be on the 4570 405 grain. So if you are sitting around Friday, make sure you watch that video. Thanks guys for watching this video. We'll catch you next time.